What if I told you that one pay-per-view completely changed how I look at professional wrestling? What if I told you that after watching AEW Double or Nothing, I sat there and realized something I never thought I would say. I don't enjoy watching WWE anymore. Now, before the WWE fans immediately jump into the comments and start typing paragraphs, hear me out, man. This isn't about hating WWE. This isn't about tribalism. This is about one company reminding me why I fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place, while the other has slowly turned wrestling into a corporate television show filled with advertisements, endless recaps, and matches that feel secondary to everything else. Because after watching Double or Nothing, I realized AEW is giving me what I actually want as a wrestling fan. Better wrestling, more compelling stories now, more unpredictability, and a product that doesn't feel like it's constantly trying to sell me something every 5 minutes. And today, we're going to talk about why Double or Nothing may have been the final straw that made me stop watching WWE regularly. But trust me, the biggest reason isn't even the wrestling. Let's start with the obvious, the wrestling itself, because this isn't even close anymore. AEW's biggest strength has always been its in-ring product, and Double or Nothing reminded everyone exactly why. Every match felt important. Every match had intensity. Every match felt like the wrestlers were trying to steal the show. Meanwhile, when I watch WWE these days, it often feels like the wrestling is just filling time between commercials, sponsorships, celebrity appearances, and video packages. In AEW, the wrestling is the attraction. The matches are allowed to breathe. The wrestlers are trusted to tell stories inside the ring, and the crowd actually reacts because they're invested in what's happening. Double or Nothing was packed with moments that felt organic, not scripted, not manufactured, not overproduced, organic, real. That's something wrestling desperately needs. Because the more polished WWE becomes, the less authentic it feels. And that's a huge problem. But here's where things get really interesting. Because wrestling isn't actually the biggest reason AEW won me over. The storytelling is. The storytelling is what won me over now. For years, WWE fans have argued that WWE tells better stories. And maybe at one point, that was true. But today, I don't see it. AEW stories feel like they're written around the wrestlers now. WWE stories often feel like they're written around the company. There is a huge difference. When I watch AEW, I feel like the characters drive the story. When I watch WWE, it often feels like the writers are forcing characters into stories. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, Double or Nothing showcased exactly why AEW storytelling works. The rivalries felt personal. The wrestlers felt emotionally invested. The audience cared about the outcomes. And perhaps most importantly, nothing felt overly scripted. Professional wrestling works best when fans can emotionally connect with the performers. AEW understands that. They let talent be themselves. They let personalities shine through. And because of that, everything feels more believable. Now compare that to WWE. How many times have we watched the same promos, the same scripted dialogue, the same repetitive segments, the same match ending in interference, the same story dragging on for months? At some point, fans start feeling like they're watching the same show every week. Double or Nothing reminded me how exciting wrestling can be when stories actually evolve, when things happen that you don't expect, when wrestlers are allowed to be human beings instead of corporate characters. And honestly, that excitement is something WWE has struggled to provide consistently. Now let's talk about something nobody wants to discuss. advertisements. This is where WWE completely loses me. I understand wrestling is a business. I understand companies need sponsors, but WWE has taken it to another level. Every show feels like it's sponsored by 5 different companies. Every match has logos everywhere. Every segment feels like it's interrupted by marketing. Every premium live event feels like less like a wrestling show and more like a giant commercial. And eventually, it becomes exhausting. I want to watch wrestling, not an advertisement disguised as a wrestling. Double or Nothing felt refreshing because the focus remained on the product. The wrestlers, the stories, the matches, the fans. Imagine that. Can you guys imagine that? That is wrestling. A wrestling company focusing on wrestling? Crazy concept, right? And honestly, after experiencing that, going back to WWE feels difficult. Like, you know what I mean? Like, after experiencing all that AEW Double or Nothing provided, and then going back to watching WWE, like, it's like day and night difference. It's difficult, man. Because once you notice the constant advertising, you can't stop noticing it. It's everywhere, and it takes away from the immersion. But there's one final reason why Double or Nothing changed everything for me. The energy, the atmosphere, the feeling. Wrestling fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Some shows feel alive, others don't. Double or Nothing felt alive. The crowd was invested. The wrestlers were motivated. The matches mattered. The audience felt like they were witnessing something special. That's what professional wrestling is supposed to feel like. When I watch AEW's major pay-per-views, I get that feeling. Anything can happen. Anybody can steal the show. Every match has the chance to become memorable. When I watch WWE lately, I often know exactly what's going to happen before it happens. And predictability kills excitement. The more predictable a wrestling product becomes, the harder it is to stay emotionally invested. AEW isn't perfect. Let's be honest. They have flaws. Every wrestling company does. Every wrestling company has their flaws. But Double or Nothing reminded me why I became a fan in the first place. Passion, excitement, unpredictability, great wrestling, and characters that feel real. So did Double or Nothing literally make me quit watching WWE forever? Maybe not. I mean, never say never in wrestling. But it absolutely changed my perspective. Because after watching that show, I found myself asking a question I never thought I would ask. Why am I spending 3 hours watching a WWE show that feels repetitive when I could spend that time watching wrestling that actually excites me? That's the question WWE should be worried about. Not ratings, not social media numbers, not sponsorship deals. That question. Because the moment fans stop feeling excited about your product, they start looking elsewhere. And right now, AEW is giving a lot of wrestling fans a reason to look elsewhere. But what do you guys think? Did Double or Nothing prove AEW is the better wrestling product? Or am I completely wrong here? Let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we've got plenty more wrestling content coming your way. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.